Salli ala nabiyina, salli ala Muhammadin, salli ala nabiyina, salli salli ala habibina, salli ala Muhammadin, salli ala Muhammadin.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is the goodwill message from His Holiness, which I'm going to read word for word. Dear members of Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat Nigeria, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. I am very pleased that you are holding your annual Jalsa Salana on 22nd, 23rd, and 24th December 2023. It is my prayer, may Allah bless your Jalsa with great success, and may all the participants gain immense spiritual blessings by attending this unique religious gathering. By the grace of Allah, the Jalsas of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat take place all over the world, in small and large countries, in rich and poor nations, and indeed, there is no continent on this earth where our Jalsa is not held. Most certainly, these Jalsas were destined to take place in every corner of the earth and in every land, because the promised Messiah, alayhi salatu wasalam, taught us not to think of this Jalsa as being just another ordinary gathering of people, but rather he declared that this was a phenomenon that was based purely on divine design, on the propagation of Islam and the spreading of the wonderful teachings and guidance of our beloved Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The promised Messiah alayhi salatu wasalam stated, "Do not consider this gathering to be the same as the likes of any ordinary worldly gathering. Rather, the case of this is such that it is founded upon the pure support of truth and the propagation of Islam. The foundation stone of this community, which has been laid by Allah, the Almighty Himself, and the nations have been prepared that will soon come and join its folds. This is because it is the work of that all-powerful being for whom nothing is impossible." Istihar, December 27, 1892, Majmua Istaharat, Volume 1, page 361, the edition of 2019. This Jalsa should become the means of developing the true fear of Allah in your hearts. By attending this gathering, you should strive to increase your level of taqwa, which is righteousness. It should cause the qualities of gentleness, kindness, and meekness to grow within you and enable love to flourish among yourselves, so much so that you are witnessed to be the perfect model of a pure, united, and loving community, establishing a lasting example of caring for each other. Develop a zeal and passion for the service of Islam, and most importantly, endeavor to establish a living relationship with Allah Almighty, our Creator. You should try to fulfill the conditions of the bayat you have pledged to the promised Messiah, alayhi salatu wasalam. These conditions should serve as your guide in life, and if you conduct yourself accordingly, by self-reflection and by constantly reassessing and improving your everyday deeds and actions, you can become even better Ahmadi Muslims and create a true spiritual revolution in the world. An Ahmadi Muslim should continue to ponder over each one of them in order to keep his faith alive. I urge you to always uphold the divine institution of Khilafatul Ahmadiyya. Remember that the progress of the Jamaat, the spread of Islam, and in fact, the establishment of world peace is all fundamentally linked to the institution of Khilafat. Therefore, try to develop a firm bond with Khalifatul Masih and always remain loyal. You should watch MTA often and encourage your family, especially your children, to do so as well. In particular, you should listen regularly to my Friday sermons and my speeches and words of guidance at other functions and occasions. This will enable you to maintain a strong link with Caliphate and strengthen your faith. I also wish to draw your attention to your great responsibilities regarding preaching, which is essential for every Ahmadi. And you should plan wisely and devise new and effective methods for spreading the peaceful messages of Islam Ahmadiyyat throughout Nigeria. Finally, I remind you of the prayer of the promised Messiah alayhi salatu wasalam for the participants of the Jalsa Salana, he states, I conclude with the prayer that everyone who travels for attending this convention, that is for the sake of Allah, may Allah the Exalted be with him, reward him in abundant measure, have mercy on him, ease up for him his circumstances of hardship and anxiety, and eliminate his anguish and grief. May he grant him freedom from every single hardship and lay open for him the ways of achieving his cherished goals, and raise him up on the day of judgment among those of his servants who are the recipient of his blessings and mercy. May he be their guardian in their absence until after their journey comes to an end. This prayer is contained in Istihar of 7th December 1892, Majmua Istiharat, Volume 1, page 342. May these heartfelt prayers of the promised Messiah alayhi salatu wasalam be with you all. May Allah bless you. Wassalam. Yours sincerely, Mirza Masroor Ahmad Khalifatul Masih the Fifth. This is the full text of the message of His Holiness to our 2023 Jalsa Salana. May Allah accept all the prayers for each and every one of us. So the next item, as I have said, is for me just to pick some points from the messages of His Holiness and try to explain them further to us. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah wa ashhadu anna sayyidana Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. Amma ba'd. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Nahmaduhu wa nusalli ala rasulihil karim wa ala alihi wa ala sahbihi wa kullu man taba'a al-huda ila yaumiddin. The distinguished missionary in charge, all the Amila members, all the participants of Jalsa Salana, I say to all of us, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It is my pleasure to welcome us all to the 69th Jalsa Salana of Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat, Nigeria. His Holiness Hadhrat Khalifatul Masih the Fifth, Allah, Ta'lى Bنصره العزيز, Hadhrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad, has graciously approved for us the theme of this lecture, Taqwa, Pathway to Justice and Peace. This is going to be the theme of our discussion, and we have different topics that we'll be discussing under each of these topics. The program of events has been sent to His Holiness and has also been approved. So all the topics we are going to be discussing is rooted in our faith in Almighty Allah and also the demonstration of those faiths to ensure that there is justice and subsequently there is peace. So I request that each and every one of us remain very silent and quiet to listen to the lectures very well. Eminent scholars have been invited to deliver lectures to us on all these areas. The first item I pick from His Holiness lecture, which I want to re-emphasize to each and every one of us, is that Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat, by the special grace of Allah, is in all the continents of the world. Huzur had said that this Jalsa Salana is being held in small and large countries, in rich and poor nations, and indeed there is no continent on this earth where our Jalsa Salana is not held. Let me explain this a little bit, and I know a number of Jamaat are very much aware. There is no country in the world that anyone is going as an Ahmadi and you inform us at the headquarters on your behalf, on your written request, through the markers, and you will be properly attended to in that other country. And it's the same thing with Nigeria. If anyone is coming to Nigeria from anyone in the world, all that we require is just a confirmation that that person is our member from anywhere in the world, and when he comes to Nigeria, by the special grace of God, we are going to provide the necessary support to that person. This is one of the nizam, or the administrative structure of the Jamaat. With utmost respect, it's a bit, let me say, challenging really to find such in other organizations, in other Islamic organizations, because it is a defined arrangement. That is why this arrangement works like that. So we have quite a number of people who go to other countries, whether superpower countries or very small countries, and we write them. They definitely would honor and respect our request to help our individual members, whether it is US, whether it is Canada, it is UK, it is Poland, it is South Africa, it is Ghana, it is Republic of Benin, any country in the world that any of our members are going, we write that country, introduce that person as our member, and by the special grace of Allah, they are going to attend to such person. The second one I want to emphasize is what our community stands for. We know what our logo is, which is love for all, hatred for none. His Holiness has emphasized here about taqwa, or righteousness, and Huzur had said that it should cause the qualities of gentleness, kindness, and meekness to grow within you and enable love to flourish among yourself, so much that you are witness to be the perfect model of a pure, united, and loving community. Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat, Nigeria, and the world is a loving community. If there are some of us who are not loving sufficiently as it should be, I think one of our takeaway in the message of His Holiness is that we are loving community, and we must work very hard to achieve that. We cannot hate our people. We can't hate our wife. We can't hate our children. Our wives should not hate their husband. Children should not hate their father. We had that in the sermon of His Holiness this afternoon on Battle of Uhud, which is a lesson for each of us. We must love ourselves, and then we must love our neighbors and love the people of our town, the people of our local governments, the people of our states, and the people of our country. And that exactly is what Ahmadiyya is. There is no room for hatred. We have the right to disagree. If somebody wants to take a path that is ungodly, a path of disobedience, for example, to His Holiness, we will disagree with such a person, but we will respect the personality of that individual. But of course, we are going to have irreconcilable difference if somebody is not obeying the Khalifa sufficiently. And that is the area we might have differences. But still, we are not entitled to disrespect to such an individual. We will not disrespect such an individual. So Islam, Ahmadiyya, is a religion of love among ourselves. Uzur also mentioned that we should develop a zeal and passion for service of Islam, and most importantly, and therefore, to establish a living relationship with Allah Almighty, our Creator. We should not be serving the Jamaat with the hope that you should be appointed so that there will be any material benefit at all. Whatever we are doing, we should do it with the hope that Almighty Allah sees our hearts. We shouldn't position either ourselves, our children, our family, our cousin, our whoever for any position in the Jamaat or in Islam for any worldly gain whatsoever, because there is not going to be any reward for it. And we must, if we see any benefit that somebody will undertake in the interest of the Jamaat, if it's not a member of our household, we should support it wholeheartedly. Another point I want to emphasize is, Uzur said you should watch MTA often and encourage your family. I used to be very amazed when people say that when they are watching Uzur sermon, they do not either enjoy it. I can understand those who say they do not understand maybe the language. If somebody cannot speak English, but there is Yoruba fashion, and all the lesson we are picking from Uzur sermon is a different sermon from what we render here. Because those sermons that we hear from Uzur, the reason why it's different from our sermon is that it is an authoritative sermon to be quoted, that you can quote. Whatever sermon anybody does with utmost respect, irrespective of the level, he can explain himself, but that's not an authority. So, and this sermon, they are very weighty and very important. For instance, we can see the lesson we listened to on Battle of Uhud today, which Uzuru continue from last week. For somebody to say he's not picking anything there, I will be amazed. Because the foundation Uzuru laid last week and this week is the foundation of instruction for obedience. And some of us used to think we are smart. You will be given an instruction by your president, and you will try to do something differently, and you see the outcome. The same thing, the circle president or the circle would agree something. Somebody will think he knows better than all of them. This is where we are going on the battle of Uhud. So, in listening to Uzur's sermon every single Friday, we improve ourselves spiritually. We improve ourselves intellectually. And we improve ourselves by way of faith. We also improve ourselves by way of knowledge. Because we cannot reform ourselves without genuine and correct knowledge. Our Friday sermons, and I repeat it again, is no any other sermon other than Uzur's sermon. I have heard it that in some Jamaats, there are some people who will deliver lecture, and either directly or indirectly, they will be directing it to somebody who has come to the mosque. Maybe they have, friction among themselves, and referring to the person directly or indirectly. That is totally unacceptable. The only thing we are is, it is either it is the current sermon of Uzur, if we have the same time, or the sermon of last week you deliver this week, if we have timing difference. Nobody is entitled to start speaking his own mind, maybe start abusing other people. By the way, even if there is no Uzur's sermon, there are procedure of our sermon, and it is that reading from the Holy Quran, reading the hadiths that are attached to that sermon. If you have any disagreement with anybody, in fact, you should not even talk about that, except what Uzur said. So I think this is a lesson for us. We should watch MTA very, very frequently, so that we can increase ourselves in knowledge as well as in piety. May Allah make it easier for each and every one of us. There is another very important point His Holiness raised, and he said that I wish to draw your attention to your great responsibilities regarding preaching, and that is tabligh, which is essential for every Ahmadi. And you should plan wisely and devise new and effective methods for spreading the peaceful message of Islam Ahmadiyyat throughout Nigeria. I said some few minutes ago that when Uzur make a statement, he is authoritative. And the authoritative thing here is that every one of us are preachers. We had a tabligh seminar this morning, and it was emphasized there that all of us are preachers, and we should stop saying, in some Jamaat, they'll say preaching, that's the work of the missionary. Do you hear very clearly what Uzur had said here? And he said that everyone has responsibility for preaching. Every Ahmadi. So we all have responsibility for preaching. So it's our duty to tell the missionary that, please, on Sunday, where are we going to preach? And if the missionary has an assignment, maybe sent by headquarters or from the central missionary, then you say, tell us where we should go and preach. So both male and female, both Amsa and Majlis Sudam and Ansarullah and Lajna, we are all preachers. And remember that you cannot preach with bad behavior. You can only preach with what? Good behavior. So let us introduce Tarbiyah to our preaching scheme. So, and finally is prayers. We can see His Holiness prayed for us. May Almighty Allah accept that prayer for all of us. Prayer is one of the things that distinguishes a true Ahmadi from a weak Ahmadi. A true Ahmadi, a very strong Ahmadi, will take prayers as his tools or her tools. Very weak Ahmadis will be looking for other sources of spiritual powers or other means of powers. So I strongly wish that we all remain a very strong Ahmadi. May Allah continue to accept our prayers. All of us have come here to win the pleasure of Allah. May Allah enable us to win the pleasure of Allah. For those who have come here to pray specially, to get something from Allah, may Allah make it to be so. May Allah accept all your prayers. May Allah forgive all our shortcomings, and may He enable us to do more in life. There are some people who wanted to come, but for some exigencies, they are not able to come. May Allah not deny them the benefit of attendance. Those of us who are here, we should behave in a very humble way so that we can get the benefit of Jalsa Salana. We should not be arrogant. We should be very meek, as His Holiness has encouraged us, so that our prayers can be accepted and we can remain a true follower of Hadhrat Khalifatul Masih. May Allah answer all our prayers. Amen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu.